The case of the broken vase, or vase, or however you want to say it. One day, Mrs. Smith hears a loud crash of broken glass in the living room. She runs into the room and sees that her favorite vase is a shattered pile on the floor. Among the broken pieces, she spots a soccer ball. She asks her sons, Peter, Paul, and Patrick, what happened. Each of the boys provides his own version of the accident. Peter says that Paul didn't kick the ball, and he's sure that Patrick did. Paul insists that Patrick is innocent. He also mentions that he hasn't done his homework yet. Patrick swears that Paul was the one who broke the vase, and he knows that for sure because Peter definitely wasn't playing soccer in the house. Well, at this point, Mama Smith is really mad at her sons and tells them she knew they would blame each other. Facts are facts. One boy has lied in both of his statements, and two boys have told the truth in theirs. So how can Mrs. Smith figure out who broke the vase? Torture might work, but we're all civilized here, so that's off the table. Anyway, put on your thinking cap. You have 20 seconds to find the guilty party. If that's not enough time for you, pause the video for as long as you need. Have you figured out who's about to be grounded for life? If so, press the like button. And if you want to check yourself, here's the answer. Let's first zero in on the fact that only one of Paul's statements, the one where he says that Patrick didn't do it, has anything to do with the accident. Mentioning that he hasn't done his homework is kind of out of the blue and adds nothing to the situation. Also take note that Peter's first phrase contradicts Patrick's and vice versa. This means that both of them weren't telling the truth. Peter and Paul can't both be telling the truth, since Paul's words go against Patrick's second statement. That's why Patrick and Paul can't be lying, which means that Peter has lied in both his statements. So obviously the boy who broke the vase was, drumroll please, Paul. You bad boy. Did you get this one right? If yes, great job. And if not, don't sweat it. We have another one for you. In this next one, you won't have to guess who the criminal is. We'll tell you right from the get-go. Your task will be to understand the murderer's motives. They say that only people with an unusual mind can solve this riddle. Do you dare try it? Tom Jones, not the singer but some other poor schmuck, was found stabbed to death in his apartment. The last people to see him were the Lansdale brothers: Joseph, Andrew, Chris, Mark, and Ben. Ooh, they could have their own basketball team. All five of them had a motive and an opportunity to kill Jones. So the police couldn't figure out which brother did it. Then, one of the detectives received an anonymous note saying, Lansdale, he's the killer. 10 minutes later, the police arrested the murderer. Who did they arrest, and how did they know it was him? The detective just read the note out loud. Mark Lansdale. He's the killer. So he immediately knew that the killer was Mark. Nothing fancy or tricky here, just a clever use of punctuation. Period. A husband and wife have always enjoyed a happy, peaceful marriage. But one day, the woman shoots her husband, holds him underwater for over 5 minutes, and then hangs him. Yet just 10 minutes later, they're spotted in a restaurant together, smiling and laughing as if nothing's happened. So how is this possible? Is he back from the dead? Try to think outside the box for this one. No foul play here, folks. The woman is a photographer. She shot the picture of her husband, put it underwater to wash off any processing chemicals during development, and hung it up to dry. It's as simple as that. Alright, let's see what develops from here. One beautiful, bright, sunny day, Daniel kills his wife. He does it in public, right in front of tons of witnesses, none of which try to stop him whatsoever. To add to that, Daniel isn't even arrested or charged with his wife's murder. Well, that's one messed up legal system. How is it possible? Think about it. The truth is both tragic and simple. Daniel's wife was sentenced to death, and Daniel, unfortunately, is the executioner. Well, that's awkward. A guy named Alex was staying in the guest house with some of his buddies. But one night he was betrayed and murdered by one of these friends. Some friend. Before Alex died, he managed to quickly write some notes on his pocket calendar in an attempt to help the police figure out the killer's name. He circled the dates March 4th and 5th, April 4th, August 6th, and December 5th. He also wrote the code 12483 on the calendar. Yet, how much time did this guy have anyway? Well, can you crack the code and find out the name of Alex's murderer in only 15 seconds? Let's see what you got. Alex's calendar is named Mitch. How can we tell? Well, the code 12483 symbolizes the order of the letters of the name, and the circled dates represent the number of the letter in the month. Okay, let's spell it out. The first number is 12, which represents the month of December. Since December 5th was circled, this means the fifth letter of the month, which is M. 4 is for April. The circled 4 gives us the letter I. 6 of August leaves us with T, and March 4th and 5th, of course, will be the C and the H. Very smart thinking, Alex. Except it probably took you 30 minutes to figure out and write down the code, and you could have instead called the police. But no, you had to be a smarty pants and die. Okay, I'm done with my rant now. A detective who had been mere days away from cracking an international smuggling ring has suddenly gone missing. But he was smart enough to try and help the investigators in their search by leaving one clue, more specifically, a special code. 710-577-35-34-5508 517718. The police have 3 prime suspects: John, Bill, and Adam. Can you break the detective's code and help the police arrest the right criminal? Hurry up! You have 15 seconds. Time's up. The numbers in the detective's code represent letters. So if you read the message upside down, you'll notice that it says, "Bill is boss. He sells oil." So Bill's your guy. Cuff him, boys. A man had been strolling through the park when he was suddenly shot in the stomach. Witnesses say the gunman had brown hair, blue eyes, and was wearing a baggy Armani suit. The main suspect is Sean Baker, who matches the description perfectly. The people interrogate Sean, who gives his account of what happened. I was just hanging out in the park, and I saw this man walking along the pathway. And then some other guy suddenly came up from behind him and shot him. I ran home as fast as I could. The police ask him to give a description of the murderer. He answers, he had a red mustache, red hair, and a baggy Armani suit on. However, one of the investigators says that Sean is lying. How does he know? Sean claims that the murderer came up from behind the victim, but that's complete nonsense. The man had been shot in the stomach. The police find the body of a dead woman who's hanged herself from the ceiling. So we finally have a corpse. Yet the room where she did it has no windows, doors, tables, or any other furniture. There's just a puddle of water on the floor. Can you outsmart the police and figure out exactly how the lady was able to hang herself? Time's ticking away. The key here is the puddle of water on the floor. The lady had actually stood on some big ice slabs to hang herself from the ceiling. The ice then melted into a puddle. Chilling. Or maybe melting. The case of the murdered friend. Two friends happen to witness a murder that's been committed in a department store not far from their home. Mary is 27 and single. She works in a barber shop. Stacy is 30. She's a librarian. Also single, she lives alone with her cat. The victim is a man named Nick. He was 35. He was a regular at the barber shop where Mary worked, as well as Stacy's library. Another key participant in this mystery is the police officer who's come to investigate the crime scene and find the murderer. Just a guy doing his job. So what's going on? Mary is devastated by Nick's death. She's crying and sobbing on the policeman's shoulder. Stacy, despite the morbid situation, is on cloud 9 because she's in love. She doesn't even glance at the dead body, still lying on the floor of the men's clothing department. Yet there's one thing casting a gloomy shadow over her love-struck joy. She doesn't have the phone number of the young man who's captured her heart. The next day, Stacy kills Mary, which begs the question, why? Take your time, there's no need to rush. Really think about your answer. So, what are your conclusions, detective? Let's see if you're right. Stacy kills Mary because she's fallen in love with the police officer investigating the scene. In her twisted fantasies, she's decided that he'll definitely come back if there's another murder. Wow. Shocking, isn't it? Only those who are able to put themselves in the criminal's shoes can solve this mystery. And those people typically have a rich imagination or psychopathic tendencies. So which group are you in?